Something like that.
Yeah, okay. So we talked about that. We talked about that. We talked about that. Oh, I opened the wrong thing maybe. I'm like, we already did all of this.
Yeah, 16 to 19.
16. All right. So when you have a question like this, and you definitely will, what kind of triangle is my target triangle? So this is my target. It's isosceles. So I definitely need something with two congruent sides. So I look here, I've got two congruent sides. I've got two congruent sides. Do I have any congruent sides here? So I'm going to eliminate that right off the bat. And then I've got two congruent sides. What fraction can I make out of this triangle? There's two options. We can do 4 over 5.5, or we can do 5.5 over 4. One of them is small over large, and the other is large over small. You just need to pick one. I usually do small over large. Okay? You're going to put this in your calculator and change it into a decimal. So 4 divided by 5.5, 4 divided by 5.5 is 72 repeating. 0.72. Okay? So all you're going to do is make a fraction and then change it into a decimal. Now I need to find one of these fractions that has that same ratio. So if I did small over large, I need to do small over large. So 3 over 4.125 and 3 over 5.83 and 4 over 5.5. Small over large. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's the process. Does that make sense? Yeah, Lily. Number 11. Mm-hmm. So here, if you do not have a picture, draw one. So if I have LMQ and LNP, I go through here and I know LM has to go with PQ and LM has to go with MN. Is MN even a side? Are M and N sides? They're not. So that's automatically wrong. Anywhere I see MN is not even going to be possible because that's not even a side. So then I come over here, LN and LM, LN and LM, and LN and NP, LN and NP. And I just start marking stuff. Does this one look good? These are the markings that I have in the picture. Got a side and a side and a side and a side. I think that one looks good.
They just have to match. Right?
They just have to match. So yeah, the LN and LM, if they're next to each other in their proportion, they have to be related in the picture. So they either have to be in the same triangle or they have to be corresponding parts. So like LM and LN are in that same fraction right here. And then NP, this side, and MQ are in the same fraction. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you go with that?
Absolutely. These are going to be super important. So BD is the knife that cuts angle ABC in half. Okay, so we're going to cut ABC in half and end up with two new angles. right? BD is going to stay intact, but ABC is going to get sliced in half. So here, I need 2 angle marks here. So here I've got 2 angle marks, but I've got this extra nonsense. We can't have that. I've got my 2 angle marks here. I've got the reflexive side. That works out, but I've got this nonsense here. I don't know anything about those legs. Here I've got a whole lot of extra nonsense. I don't know what all of that is. It hasn't told me that. And here I've got my 2 angles and my reflexive side. You can always mark those reflexive sides. So this is going to be, because when you bisect something, you end up with 2 things. Yeah, when you bisect, if you cut a segment in half, you end up with 2 segments. If you cut an angle in half, you end up with 2 angles.
Oh, and you just mark the reflection side.
And then you mark that reflexive side. And you can always mark the reflexive sides. Okay. These are good questions, ladies and gentlemen. 13?
13.
Okay. So solve the proportion. We've got the 7 goes with the 28 because they're on the same side. And then the 2x minus 2 and the 40 because they're on the same side. And the 40 and the 28 go together because they're in the same triangle. And the 7x, or the 7 and the 2x minus 2. So you're just going to cross multiply. 7 times 40. So is that 280? And then you're going to do 28 times 2x minus 2. So 28 times 2x and 28 times minus 2. That's what you did last Wednesday when I was out. So 28 times 2 is 56 minus 56. So 280 plus 56 is 336. And then divide by 56.
I just wonder when I have one of those.
I don't know.
It's the same exact thing. I gotta test them.
Oh.
I got 0.64.
So 0.64. Did you subtract the 56 instead of add it? Or did you get like 58 or something weird? Like it's like, yeah, it's probably just a little mistake somewhere. So with these, just like algebra, you can always test your answer. Stick that 6 back in here and see if it cross multiplies and makes it right. So you can always test it. Do we need to talk about 15? If this is going to be something, it's going to be side, angle, side. So you just have to test it. If this is going to be something, it's going to be angle, angle. If this is going to be something, it's going to be side, side, side. And if this is going to be something, it's going to be side, angle, side. Do all of those things make sense? Yeah? Thomas, I see you're asking for 17. We just talked about 16. 17 is an excellent one. All right, guys, when you go to take this test, even if you've already started it, hopefully you're listening. If you see this symbol, you have to make a proportion. Okay? If you see this similar symbol, you have to make a proportion. If it has the congruent symbol, this symbol, then you can just set 2 things equal to each other. Okay? So if it has this symbol, you can set one side equal to another side. If it has this symbol, you have to make a proportion. So I always use the whole numbers if I can. It just makes life easier. So I've got 5 and 10, the little triangle and the big triangle. And now I've got to choose another side. So I'm just going to arbitrarily choose AC because it's asking me what the length of AC is. So AC is x plus 5. And it goes with LM or LN. So it goes with 3x plus 3. We've got to do that cross multiplication. So 15x plus 15. Let me know if I do something crazy. And then 10x plus 50. I subtract my 10x from both sides and get 5x. If I move my x's to the left, I want to move my numbers to the right. So 50 minus 15 is 35, and x equals 7. Am I done?
Well, Unless that's, is that a 3? That's 3x plus 3, okay.
Is it a 3?
Yeah.
So I'm being told by Casey I need to substitute that 7 back in. I want to know AC, so 7 plus 5 is 12. It would be a terrible shame to get this far and then put x equals 7 when they're not asking for x, they're asking for AC. This is definitely a hard problem, and there's at least one that's exactly like this on the test. Okay? Yeah. Question 18, line segments AC and BD intersect at E as shown. AB is parallel to CD. So AB is parallel to CD. That means those alternate interior angles are going to be congruent, right? So I can mark those. From parallel lines, I can always mark alternate interior angles. I also know that DE is 10. DE is 10. And BE is 15, BE is 15, CE is 20, CE is 20, and I want to know AE, right? So the 10 and the 20 are in one triangle. I can put those next to each other. And then because this 10 is opposite that 2 tick mark, the 15 is opposite that 2 tick mark, the 10 and the 15 have to go together. And the D is opposite the 20, and the B is opposite the X, so they have to go together. This question is all about setting up that proportion. Then when you cross multiply, you get 10x equals 300, and x equals, 30. And if I put a 30 over here, that kind of makes sense. 10 is half of 20, and 15 is half of 30. There is a word problem on the test. It doesn't look like this lake. It looks a little bit different, but it's the same principle. So if I know that 28 and the length of the lake go together, 28 and the length of the lake go together, and the 28 and the 30 are in the same triangle, they have to go together, and the 105 and the lake are in the same triangle, they have to go together. Okay? So it's all about setting up this proportion. And then it's just 30x equals whatever 105 times 28 is. Are there any other questions on this one? I know that was fast. I'm happy to answer any questions. That makes sense. Yeah, it's going to be smaller than 105. So 105 times 28 divided by 30. Yeah, 98. Yep. Do we want to go over any of the ones on the other test? The 28 question test? Like I said, if you want to start your test, you can start it now, but I'm happy to answer questions. 7 on this one? Mm-hmm. So 7 has that congruent symbol. With congruent, you can have one thing equal another thing, right? No proportion necessary here. So find the value of x. I need to know something about angle P. So angle P goes with angle F. Angle P goes with angle F, but I don't know what angle F is. But I know E is 110, so I can put 110 in here. What do I know about the 3 corners of a triangle? They do. So I can do 160. I just added 110 and 150 because I'm lazy. And then minus 10 equals, 180. So 3x plus 150 equals 180, and x equals 10, maybe? Okay, so you got to kind of play, you got to be a detective. Fill in all the information. These questions are not easy. If you're confused, there's a good reason that you're confused. Okay, you just got to push through and practice. The only way to get better at these is to practice. On this one? On the other one. And Lily, I think it was the second test, the bigger test, that you said there were some wrong answers in the key. Okay. So I have 1, 2, 6, 10, 15, 23, 27 on my list, but I'm happy to do any of them. So on this one, we've got that one squiggle mark. We've got to set up a proportion, right? There's no equal signs. We've got to set up a proportion. So 25 is LK. That goes with VW. LK goes with VW. So 25 and 20 have to go together. And then these two are in the same triangle, so they have to go in the same fraction. 4x minus 23 and 2x plus 2. Once you set up your equation, then cross multiplying is usually pretty easy. Okay, but be careful of those symbols on the test. They're going to be all mixed up. So again, this one is going to be a proportion. How do I set up this proportion? Be careful with this one because it's asking the length of SR. So once you get your X, you've got to substitute it back in here. Okay. If I've got Michael is standing 14 feet from a mirror, that's the 14 laying on the ground. His eyes are 5.5 feet above the ground. 5.5. Make sure when you have word problems, you label them. And then the building is 300 feet from the mirror. So that's 300 here. How would I set that proportion up? That's a 14. It looks like an M. Does the 300 go with the 5.5 or the 300 go with the 14? Okay, and then we're going to solve that. Jacob, was that the one that you were asking about? It was a word question, and we didn't practice any of that. Usually we would spend an entire day on word problems like this. And I kind of cut that out. With these questions, A, B, and C are all in one triangle. So all of your A, B's, and C's have to be next to each other in the fraction. So this can't be it because the ABCs go up and down. Does that make sense, kind of? So A, B, and C all have to be straight across. A, B, C all have to be straight across. A, B, A, C, B, C. They all have to be straight across because they're all in one triangle. So when you get this alphabet stuff, some of you are probably like me. I kind of get lost in all the letters. Letters don't sit right with me. All your A, B's, and C's have to be next to each other, and all your CRTs need to be next to each other as well. CRT. Gianluca, you're saying you got number 3 wrong, Casey? Number which? 4? So did you do 5.5 times 300 divided by 14? That should give you the right number, and then round to the nearest whole number. So it shouldn't be a decimal here. It should be a whole number. And you said this one, number 4? No. On the other one, okay. On the smaller one? Yeah, we can go back to it. Any other questions on this one? Do we want to go down and look at 10?
So the ones that are angle.
Like, they don't necessarily. So here, do you see these little parallel line marks right here? So we've got vertical angles, and because we've got these alternate interior angles, I can make the Z. So C to F to P is an angle, and then F to P to S is an angle. This is angle, angle.
what about 6?
This one, all you have is angles as well. So you can use triangle sum to find this one. So, and I shouldn't have made it right because it's not really right. But what's 180 minus 47 minus 180 minus 47 minus 38 is going to be 95. And then if I look at the big triangle, I've got the 98 and the 47, so I could subtract those. 180 minus 98 minus 47 is going to give me 35. So are these triangles congruent? I mean, similar? Do they have two pairs of angles that are the same?
No.
They do not. So this is not. Because it can't be side, 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 or side angle side because I don't have any sides.
So how would you know if it's side, side, side?
So this one doesn't have any sides on it. The only thing it can be is either angle, angle, or not similar. In this one, the only thing it can be is side, 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 or not similar. Because that's all I'm given is sides.
But this one would be not similar, right?
I don't know. So we need to do 8, 9, 12. So that's small, medium, large, and then small, medium, large. So small, medium, large. And then you'd have to divide down and find the decimal. So they'd all have to be 0.8.
So what if they're not?
If they're not 0.8, then they're not similar.
They all have to be 0.8.
They all have to be the same. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. These are good questions, guys. I know this is a hard unit. What other questions do we have? There's a lot of them in here. The next one I had was 15. If we get to 15, which graph represents a perpendicular line to the line below? So again, you don't have to use the little marks. You can use the big ones. Up 5, right 10. So that's 5 over 10, rise over run, or 1/2. The perpendicular slope, we've got to turn it upside down. So that's -2 over 1. So I need a negative slope. It's not this one. I need a negative slope. It's not this one. I need a negative slope. It's going to be one of these two. So if I go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, that one works. This one is down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. So I think this is the better one. On the test, you're definitely going to have to do perpendicular. So what's this one? Because on the second part of the test, there's a lot of choosing the right picture. So what can I mark here in this picture?
Wait, what was the last name of the graph?
It was -2 over 1, like the most negative slope. So I've got a side marked here. I can always mark the reflexive side, and then I've got these parallel lines, and the parallel lines give me angles. So if I have those things marked, what's my choice here?
Side angle side.
Side angle side. What about this one? They are. So I've got A, B, C. So if I go from A down the 2 tick mark, down the 1 tick mark, C, D, A, I agree. C, D, A. And why? Side, 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 side angle side. It would be, yeah. Okay, so there's some matching ones on part 2 that you got to be able to do that. And 100% Kylie the middle. What about this one? So G, M, H, B, A, H. Why? Right? And then is this side, 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 angle, side, angle, hypotenuse leg?
the angle.
So angle is similar only. I like the vertical angles. So I've got a vertical angle. I've got this side that's marked, and then I've got this right angle up here. So this is going to be angle, side, angle. Angle, side, angle. Because of the vertical angles. And here we can do side, angle, side. So side, angle, side. If I've got this congruent mark, I can set two things equal. So determine the length of PR. That's the whole distance. So I need to set two things equal to each other. I would set those two things equal, substitute it in, and then double it. So this one's tough. So if I set these two things equal to each other, I get 2x equals 8, or x equals 4. If I put the 4 back in, that's 16, 17, 18. My guess is this is going to be 18 as well. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 10 is 18. So this whole distance from P to R isn't 18, it's 36. So you want to make sure you're answering the question being asked. Sometimes people think the question's wrong because they're not answering the question that's being asked. This is just a stamina question. If you kind of look at this, if you're a visual person, this triangle can be reflected on top of this triangle, and this bottom triangle can be reflected up on top of here. So triangle 1 can go onto triangle 2, and triangle 3 can go onto triangle 2. They're all congruent because they're all reflected. Those are lines of symmetry. And then 27 was the last one I wanted to look at. Remember, in proofs, you can only use what's in the proof. Please take the time to get out a piece of paper, download Screencastify, whatever you need to do so you can mark on stuff. So AB is congruent to DC, AB is congruent to DC, BC is congruent to AD, BC is congruent to AD, right? That's given to me in the picture and up here. So that's given. And then AC and AC are congruent because of the reflexive side. So that goes here. This answer right here is asking you side, 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 side angle, side, which combination of those? Well, if you've labeled your picture, it's obvious. There's no angles labeled here. This is side, side, side. Okay, when you're doing proofs, you can't assume anything. You have to go based on what's in the proof. Okay. Any other questions? Lily, did I hit on all of your questions? Because I know you had some here. Yeah. You wanted to go back to number 3. Yes, absolutely. Is it? Oh, thank you. Thank you. You guys got my back. So I'm going to take one quick request to go back to that other one. We'll do number 3. Like I said, if you want to already start your test, if you haven't already, feel free to start. I want to give you the rest of class time. We are going to start our next unit tomorrow, but message me if you have questions. And please feel free to use your interactive notebook. There are a lot of notes in there that will help. You're allowed to use your notebook. Yeah, for sure. Oop, I brought that over too fast. It's open notebook. You may use your notebook, yes. On all the tests this year. So there's a lot of different rules this year than normal. Complete the congruency statement based on the image below. So the trick here is to look at the loops. And question 4. Okay, so this is a really good one, and it's hard. So if I'm looking for the measure of P, right, what can I do first? The only angles I know anything about are M and Q. How are they related? What equation can I write with the 3x plus 20? They are equal, and 4x plus 10. So they're equal because m and q go together. So if I subtract, I get x equals 10. Okay, so then I can substitute. So if I substitute back in here, 3 times 10 plus 20, this angle is 50 degrees, and this angle is 50 degrees. How does that help me get P? So this is 180 degrees. So I can do the whole thing is 180 minus the 50 and then divided by 2. Does that make sense? So I take the sum of the degrees, 180 minus the 50, and then divide by 2 because these two angles equal each other. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. If you have not already started the test, please start the test. Like I said, feel free to use your notebook. I thought I had it open. You only have one attempt, and then there are test corrections.
So we got one.
Absolutely. Yep. Just delete all the slides that you don't want me to look at. And you want to do all 3 parts of the test. And again, you can use your notebook if you want.
Because when we do the thing, it's in the notebook. I can't remember what slide it's on. It's that stuff, yeah. We put them over each other, and then the one we put under it is where it's congruent in the 3 numbers, right?
So you can either do same triangle and then small over large, or you can do same triangle and small over large. So it just, there's legit 8 ways to set up every proportion.
So I could is this not a proportion?
That's congruent, so those are going to be equal, and those are angles. So only sides go into proportions. Angles have to be congruent, and sides have to be proportional. So if you've got angles, you want to set them equal to each other all the time, every time. So when we're doing this, angles equal each other and sides. So match the corresponding sides. Yep. And actually, maybe that's a better spot to put it in. Absolutely, use a calculator. Yeah. Calculator, notebook. And it doesn't matter what calculator you use. At some point, probably actually tomorrow, we'll only use the Desmo calculator, just because that's what you'll have on the SOL. But up until Trig, you can use whatever calculator you want. We're going to use Desmos because that's what you have. We don't. If you have your own TI-84, you can bring it, and on the SOL there will be some, but we don't have enough for every student, and we're testing all math SOLs on the same day this year, so there won't be enough of these calculators. You'll have to request it if you want it.
There's so much stuff to do on that. We were talking 8th grade, how to use them, how often.
Yeah. There are a lot of shortcuts. The week for the SOLs is the first week in June. So June 1st to the 4th. The math SOL is June 4th. And I hope to, by this Friday, be able to give you guys kind of a calendar of how we're going to kind of study for it and make sure you're ready for it. I'll explain it by this Friday. Usually the leadership seminar is really fun. So hopefully. Oh wow, that's a long day. Definitely take your time, especially on part 2. Use the notebook. Page 6 will definitely help on part 2 of the test. And if you haven't started the test already, I encourage you to start.
Mm-hmm. I have another question.
Yes.
It's on the number. So, we're trying to find X that corresponds to F. Mm-hmm. That's it? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, as you have questions, definitely ask them because this unit is crazy. Logan, you do not need to stay on Zoom. If you want to go, you can go. And if you have a question and you want to come back, you can do that too.